right, I'm just start talking just a little bit, just some pre-game stuff. Not necessarily this has anything to do with the lesson, but if you don't know, if you're living under a rock, maybe, only the greatest movie of my lifetime may come out tomorrow. It's Avengers Endgame. And in honor of that, the 7 that I am, I got my hair cut.
You're just looking for it.
So if you don't know who this is, that's how Thor had his hair cut in Thor Ragnarok. So yeah. And I walked through Home Depot today, and the looks that I got, Royal Lowe's, the looks that I got. But again, remember, I told you, I'm a 7. I'll do it in sweatpants. I don't care what you think about me. And so just to have these people look at me, it makes me mad that they look at me and they're just thinking something like, why would a grown man choose to cut his hair like that? And, you know, and that's how people want to think, but you shouldn't think that about other people. That's what we're trying to learn through this class is embrace other people. We're trying to love them, regardless of their crazy choices that they're going to make. There's 7 outlandish choices that they're going to make. Or maybe there are 4 attention-seeking choices that they may make. Anyways, I'm a 7, and I'm going to put the face paint on my face tomorrow too, and I'm going to roll in that movie excited, just to let y'all know. So, yeah, there he is. So anyways, and other news, Joe's going to run us through a recap of the things we've been talking about and how the one we're going to talk about tonight and how that fits in.
So there's been a lot of numbers jumping around, a lot of connections, lines going here and there, and part of this triad and part of this Enneagram group and all that, and it just kind of starts getting jumbled up in your brain. But I just want to just kind of give a quick recap of where we are so that you understand where we're actually going today. And so with your basic triad, remember it's the gut triad, the heart triad, and the head triad. You know, so the gut triad is your 8, 9, and 1, and their basic motivation is autonomy. You can see up here at the top. What they're after is autonomy. And so then the heart triad, your 2, 3, and 4, their basic need, what their motivation is attention. And so that's what they're going for. And then your head triad, your 5, 6, and 7. They're interested in security. That's what they're seeking. That's what their core motivation is. Now, last week what we dealt with was we did the Enneagram groups, and there's one from each triad in each of the Enneagram groups. And what it tells us is what they try to do to get that basic need met. How we go about getting that basic need met. And what we're going to do today is going to follow up on some of that and kind of make a little bit more sense of it. But I wanted to cover up this a little bit just before we begin so that you can kind of start wrapping your mind around, because like I said, there's just numbers going all over the place and everything. But what we have with the Enneagram, you have you've got the assertive group. Now the assertive groups are our 8s. Excuse me. Okay, so it's not going to happen. You have our 8s and our 7 and our 3. So what they do, they're each from a different triad. And so it tells you how they go about trying to get that need met. So a 7 is going to demand it, an 8 is going to demand security, an 8 is going to demand autonomy, and the 3 is going to demand attention. That's what they're trying to get. That's how they go about trying to get that need met. And then there's the compliant group. There's the 1, 2, and the 6. And what they're trying to do is they're going to earn that autonomy, attention, and security. And then finally there's the withdrawal group, and that's the 4, 5, and 9. And they're going to withdraw. They're going to disengage from people. And all of this is, remember, the basic triad is what is their basic need they're trying to get met. What is their basic need? Their core motivation. The Enneagram group that we covered last week is how they go about trying to get that need met. Usually like in a social standing, social situation. And so they either earn it, they withdraw from it, or they demand it. Now, today we're going to talk about what happens when you don't get that need met. What happens when we're trying to get that need met and it's not happening? Jesse?
And that doesn't necessarily send you into a spiraling stress situation.
No.
Because you didn't get what you wanted, you start throwing a stress fit. It's not that necessarily. It's just how your number and how we respond when we don't get what we want. What is it going to look like? And so there's 3 groups with that. So these are called our harmonic groups: positive outlook, competency, and reactive. Positive outlook, competency, and reactive. And I put this onion on here, guys, because we're really starting to get in layers deep, right? Like, this is the moment where, like, we've peeled so many layers back, and you're learning so many things about your number, and it's just build on and build on and build on. Because, again, if we were to try to throw this stuff at you week 1, right over your head, but I think we're getting to the point where we can really build on some of this stuff. And it really, you just find your core makeup here. So we'll do the same thing we did last week. We'll go through our 3 groups. You kind of throw out 3 numbers you think belong. And so Joe will start us off with our positive outlook.
Okay, once again, remember these are how we cope with difficulty, how we cope with conflict, how we respond when we don't get what we want. So, positive outlook group. I'm not going to tell you the numbers, but I want you to try and be thinking in your mind, who does this sound like? Which of the numbers on the Enneagram does this sound most like? They want to emphasize the uplifting aspects of life. Once again, you're just thinking this positive attitude. When conflict happens, when they don't get what they want, they put a positive spin on it. They're our morale builders. They're the ones that pump people up. They love to make others feel good. Now here's kind of the kicker on that, so that they can stay happy themselves. That might give you a little bit of a clue as to who might fit into this group. But it's also that they can kind of still feel good about themselves. They can reframe disappointment so that it doesn't look so negative. They deny that they've got any problems. I don't have a problem. It would be kind of a general point that they would take. I don't have any problem. However, they have difficulty facing the kind of darker side of themselves. They don't want to look at anything painful or negative. They don't want to think in those terms. They have difficulty balancing their own needs with the needs of others. Remember, what we're doing here is we're to make others feel good so they can stay happy themselves. They're really kind of more focused on themselves, so they have trouble balancing this with the needs of others. Anything you want to add to that, Jesse?
No.
Okay.
Let them guess.
All right.
One from each of the triads in there? Or is it
Yeah, same thing. Same thing. There's one from each triad, just like there was last week.
And one from each Hornevian group as well.
Okay.
Larry Sean 7.
9, 2,
9's the
7.
third one.
9 for sure.
9
9 for sure, 7.
I
heard 2.
I don't even know where that is.
You thinking 1?
Oh, yeah. That's
No.
only one. It's a 9. It's a 9, yeah.
All right.
I was like, did I not say that?
All right. So you got 3 floating around there. That's good. Let's take a look at our next one. This is our competency one. Our competency group. This group can put aside their personal feelings. Okay, they're going to grab their personal feelings. We're going to set those aside, and we're going to address the problem. We're going to deal with the issue at hand. Okay, they are objective, effective, and competent. Okay, this is their motto. These 3 things is what we got to be in this moment. And this right here, I kind of summed up a little area in the book. Is how can I use this to my advantage? So the system, whatever the system may be, I'm going to use the system to my advantage. If I'm going to think outside how the system works to my advantage, I'm going to do it that way. Or I'm going to play the system for all it's worth, I'm going to do it that way. Or a little bit of each. So that's how the 3 numbers will handle inside the competency. All right, so remember, these are the people, they don't want to look stupid. That's the big thing. All right, who do you think's here?
Subjective feelings go on the back
5
burner.
and 3.
Well,
Yeah,
you said complicated. He's got to be a 9. Object.
5, 8, 3. I heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, look. I'm
Thinking-
not sure about the
would you
8
say 8?
and 1, though.
Definitely reactive.
All right. Now the reactive.
Now the reactive.
164.
They react emotionally to conflict. and problems. They have difficulty knowing how much to trust other people. They want their concerns to be mirrored. I want you to feel what I'm feeling.
They're going to continue to tell you the story over and over again until you're like, I'm on board. I feel what you're feeling. They're going to like, hold on. Let me retell you because I don't think you're emotionally connected with me right now. I don't think you're feeling how I was feeling when the grocery store clerk was taking their time scanning the things. I'm like, I'm in a rush. I want you to feel my impatience I had with the person. So they're going to retell you the story.
You guys good?
Terry says that's an 8.
This is really bothering me, and it should bother you too. You know, that's going to be how we handle things. I like the story Justin's kind of talking about. It's bothering me. I want to make sure you feel that as well. They have really strong likes and dislikes. They react strongly, and they need a response from others. They want that feedback. They want you to feel about that. And if there's a problem, others are going to hear about it. So, let's see here. What else do we want to put on there?
The trust and distrust, I put that on there because they trust and distrust people at the same time. I trust you, but I also don't trust you. It's just them. What 3 numbers are these?
6, 4, 8.
Okay, 8, 6. Alright, some people said 4. Okay. Alright, so the big reveal, I think that's our next slide. Big reveal. And the answer is, I think we heard them all pretty on. So here's our positive outlook, 2, 9, and 7. Our reactive is 8, 6, and 4. And our competency is 1, 3, and 5. Okay? 1, 3, and 5. Everybody, is anybody wondering why someone fits there? I mean, we're about to go through it anyways, but.
That's funny.
And once you'll have it, you'll have the main number, and then skip a number and have one. Skip another and have one.
So this works kind of how this is set up too. As we explain the numbers, you're going to see this, is the 3, the 6, and the 9 is a pivot point for each of these groups. They're right in the middle, the seesaw. You kind of see the seesaw, you know, and they're a pivot. So we're going to talk about this, but I'm just going to give you an example real quick of just how it pivots. Sevens, positive outlook, but they care about themselves. 2s, positive outlook, but they care about others. 9s, they do both, but neither exceptionally well. Does that make sense? So, but they're the middle. They're the seesaw. Okay. So that's how it'll all work as we kind of explain it. So that's why again that shape really helps kind of remind us of that too. All right. So we can. You want to go around the circle right here, or you want the ultimate? We'll put the ultimate triad thing up. This has got all our layers, all our onion up here right now. Hey, it's over. Y'all need to just look at this right now.
You lost me there.
Okay. And I'm gonna just show you the onion real quick. This is what we worked up to, guys. Oh no!
It's too much.
All right. So this is right here. Just look at our layers. We got our competency out here. Our feeling triad are these 3 right here. You can see the withdrawn like that, assertive like this. It's all our shapes that we've worked on so far. I'll put our onion up here to remind us that this is our ultimate onion right now. Okay? So all the shapes make sense. Remember I told you how there's kind of one of each in each section and how much that makes sense. Alright? Do you want us to go around this so we can be reminded at each number? Or would you rather just look at this one for right now? The other one?
I'd rather not look at that.
Okay. Can we just go back?
They will make things interesting.
Okay, now you're skipping about 5. Okay, here we go.
Okay, we're just going to do positive.
We're just going to look at this right now. Would you prefer us to kind of do like we usually do with our numbers and go around? We just take turns, or would you like us to just talk about positive outlook in general? I think that may do the groups together. Because we can talk about how the group itself and why each of them think positively.
My 3 numbers are 7, 9, 2.
Right. And so, Coach, there it is. Coach was like, hey man, these are my 3 big numbers. You were the same way. And that's normal. why do 7s confuse ourselves with 2s a lot? Why do we find ourselves landing on 9 sometimes? It's because this positive outlook is such a big part of our personality. We find ourselves in these categories also, and also being our 2nd and 3rd numbers, because they're just so who we are. So yeah, we'll start with these first. So I guess I'll roll 7.
Okay.
All right.
Go for it.
So positive outlook for 7. We're reframing things. You know, we have that reframe set up. We want to reframe things in a positive spin, the silver lining. We're the kings or queens of that. And we want to do that to make ourselves feel good. Okay? It's not about others normally, but why would we want to make others happy? Because that also keeps us happy. Because if others are sad and pulling the whole atmosphere down, then they're dragging me down with them. So the only reason I'm trying to make others have a good time is because it keeps me having a good time. Does that make sense? That sounds incredibly selfish. But there's moments where I'm going to say incredibly hurtful things sometimes about a number because it's just true. Okay? And now, one thing we did struggle through, and I want you to know, like, just because I'm choosing to make you happy isn't to keep me happy all the time. Like, I love Christ, and I'm choosing to do that because I love Christ. And remember, our foundation is built on something much more than these numbers and magic and all that kind of stuff we're working with up here. It's much more than that. So I just want to remind us of that as we go through, and we do hear something hurtful, because that was us maybe in a younger setting, or maybe we are struggling with that, and it's about, I need to make this more about Christ and not about me. Okay? So that's us. We're reframing. Joe wants to say, you want to save our question thing, don't we?
Well, yeah, we'll save that.
Okay.
We'll save that. But what I was thinking was, you know, there's an emphasis for each of the numbers, and as we go around, the 7 is going to emphasize this positive experience, enjoyment, activity, and fun. Kind of moving on, and just I'll kind of do this really quickly. The 9. Now the 9 is going to emphasize positive qualities of others and environment. Okay, and they idealize their world. They're kind of caught in between the 7 of really 7 is kind of thinking of themselves and wanting to keep themselves happy. The 9's kind of in between that and the 2, and then the 2, their emphasis is on positive self-image. I'm a caring, loving person. That's what they want the world to see them as, and so their focus is on good intentions. I want to do something that's good. Once again, so that I stay happy. I want to serve. I want to do good things, and where like a 7 wants to focus on themselves and make sure they're happy and have a great experience. The 2 wants to make sure you have a great experience, but it's both in the end so that they stay happy. It's kind of different ways to stay happy and that positive outlook. Whereas the 9 in between them is kind of, they do a little bit of both. And so you think about the 9 and their lack of conflict, and they're kind of keep the peace, and I want to stay in the middle. Well, they do neither of them well. We kind of covered that a little bit, but they do neither of them really well.
And that's why when you're a 9 number, you land all over the map, is because you just got a little bit of everybody in you. And as we go through these lines, at the end, the 9 is the only one that's connected to every single number. And that's why they have a hard time figuring out where they land, is because they're the only one that touches every number. Joe, you can too. I mean, that's you.
Well, yeah, I mean, and so each group, each of the numbers in the positive outlook group, they avoid seeing certain things. There's things that they're trying to avoid, and so with the 2, we're avoiding our own neediness. We're too busy trying to make sure that your needs are met and all of that, where we don't take good care of ourselves. And there's all this good intention, but we're avoiding seeing the neediness there. With 7s, think about 7s, and what are they trying to avoid? They're trying to avoid some pain. And so they avoid the pain and emptiness, and their role in creating suffering for self and others is kind of the other thing they avoid. With the 9s, what they're going to avoid is problems with their loved ones or their environment and their own lack of development. So they kind of just stay in between and be a little wishy-washy there with both of them. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out. We probably need to move on.
Right. So, feels like it's going to be long.
Well, it is when we talk about ourselves. Sorry.
All right, so let's move over to competency here, right here. So our 1 fits into competency because, again, they want to be perfect. And they want to have the perfect answer. They want their paper to be right. They want whatever they turn into to be right. And if something's wrong, then it wasn't perfect. They don't seem competent. They don't like that feeling, and that just really bothers them. Remember what they're trying to achieve. What they're trying to achieve, they're trying to achieve autonomy. So if I did something wrong, if I'm not competent, that means somebody's got to help me. Somebody's got to come into my world, and I'm trying to be autonomous. I don't want you to have to come into my world and teach me or show me how or fix the things that I've done wrong, because it makes me feel bad, makes me feel worthless. Step back. I'm trying to be me and do this right. And so you can see how that fits into their very competent mindset. And so they've thought about, again, they just try to think about the perfect way to do it. That fits in the guidelines. They have rules and guidelines. Ones work, remember I talked about how they relate to the system. Ones want the system. Give me the rules. Like the rules, and I'm going to follow them to a T, and I'm going to turn in something you can't argue with because I've done it right. That makes sense?
They're going to expect you to do it as well. They're going to expect that.
Right, they're going to expect that of everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to follow these rules. They gave us these rules, we're going to turn these in.
Yeah.
Okay?
And they're very, like I said, orderly, organized, sensible, that kind of thing. Let's see. You want to bounce another number, or you want to kind of finish up with 1?
So, I mean, that's all I got for 1.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, so I think the big deal with the competency group is working within the system.
Yeah.
With all 3 of them, they're working within the system, and that's something that's significant to them. With 3s, so with 3s, their emphasis is being capable, and remember what's a 3 trying to achieve? They want you to see them as successful, and so what they want is they want to seem capable and outstanding. They want you to see them as successful and the best at what they're doing, and so their focus is on goals. And knowing how to present themselves. It's all about making sure that you see me as something that is successful and, like I said, having achieved.
I got to appear competent. I don't necessarily have to be competent, but I definitely got to appear for him. I think if I represented this lesson, I think I'd present him 153 because I think it's important to hit the 2 ends and then talk about the fulcrum. Because 1s work within the system, they need the rules. 5s, let me just jump down here real quick to them. They're the think outside the box. Okay, so here's all the rules. 5s are over here like, no, there's got to be a better way to do it. You gave me all these rules, but there's a better way. Let me think about this better way to do it. I can come up with something better than that. And 3s, they want guidelines, not rules, guidelines that they're not required to stick to. Okay, so it's an in-between kind of thing. It's like, here's some guidelines, perfect, but I can go outside the guidelines. That's what 3 wants. 5s, they want, hey, here's what I want you to turn in, and you do it. And they're going to come up with the best competent way to do it and turn that in. Does that make sense? You see how those kind of all differ just a little bit, but it all puts them in the competency triad still. So, Joe, you want to add anything to 3 and 5? I feel like those are the important things I wanted to say about it. Why they fit into that triad.
Let's see.
If not, we're rolling.
Yeah, we should probably move on.
Okay. All right, so here is our reactive group. Our reactive group. So again, let's try to bounce it 4, 8, and then a fulcrum 6.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So our four with reactive is they are again extremely emotional. What's their system? What is their thing they're trying to be in, Joe?
What do you mean?
Like they're in response to thing. The first part. I'm forgetting what it is.
You lost me there. I wasn't paying attention to you.
All right. I'm gonna read it.
Go back and slide. Go back and slide.
All right, so they react emotionally to conflicts and problems, that they have difficulties knowing how much to trust other people. Just how they're going to respond to the problems they're having. And this is the emotional group. I know you're like, 8s feel like they're trying to get emotion out of it, but remember, they're in this anger thing. Like they're up there, and their passion is going to show through that. So their anger is going to get them worked up. So 4s on this end, withdraw, pull away for reactive. So remember, I'm going to react by pulling away. But when they get all emotional and get sappy and get however they're torn up, they want you to feel that way. They want you to come in, sit down, talk with them, feel that with them. Remember, this is the important thing for this reactive group, is they're going to react differently, but I'm going to react and I need to pull you in with me, and I need you to sit in sadness with me. That's really hard for me to do, to come in and sit in sadness as a 7, and I don't want to do that. But that's what they need, is to come in and feel sad with me.
Well, the thing is, because they're part of the heart triad, and what that is seeking attention. And so how do they get attention? They withdraw. And they want to be seen, and so what they're going to do is they're going to withdraw for that. Well, they're part of this reactive group where they need a rescuer, someone to understand them. They're trying to get that reaction, support their lifelong dreams. They're gonna try and force that reaction. So.
Okay, and that's the thing, is emotionally, 4s want to be parented. Okay, they want to be parented. They want to have the back rub. They want to be loved on. They want to be parented. On our other extreme of the fulcrum is the parent. Okay, 8 is the parent. They're going to lay down the law. They're going to tell you how it is. They're the parent that's overtelling the child, are you not understanding what I'm saying? How do you not feel the way I feel? This should make you angry like it has made me angry. Joe, can you relate to talking to Alex like that when you get stressed out and go over this 8?
So yeah, my stress number is 8, and so usually things just roll off my back. I don't get too worried about it, and I don't get overly angry very often. I just whatever. But I get a little stressed, and I hit that 8 in my stress, and all of a sudden I'm combative. I'm willing to go to war for that, and I bow up, and all of a sudden my voice changes, and Alex makes fun of me because he says, "Man, you do this thing with your eyes." I mean, he's really perceptive. He's like, "Man, your eyes just get really big," and he'll call me out on it, and in the middle of me being angry, he's calling me out on this, and that just makes me more angry, and I just want to, just lay down. Well, even like we do Monday night basketball as well, and I'm okay, and call a foul, this and that, nothing, but I get a little stressed, and pretty soon I'm a lot more aggressive. I'm very unaggressive by nature, but when I start losing or someone's dominating me or whatever, I'm just like, all of a sudden that stress comes out, and I'm willing to just get a lot more physical and just get a lot more aggressive in just my nature. And so that's coming out in the 8s there with the reactive.
Okay, 8, Danny, let me ask you, do you feel that this is how I'm feeling? Do you feel that? How come you don't feel what I feel right now? Yeah, I feel like we've had recent experiences with some of that. This is how I feel. How do y'all not feel that? Like, and it's just you over-explain, and people are surprised. And not you specifically, but just that number. 6s, because I know 6s that do this too, and so 6s are the in-between. They're sometimes I want to be the parent, sometimes I want to be parented. So and 6s are tricky because you don't know which one they're wanting to be at the time. So they can be the very aggressive parent, or they want to be the come nurture me and love me and step in here while I'm sad and be sad with me. They want to have it both. They want the best of both worlds, but again, they don't do either of them incredibly well because they're the fulcrum. Great authoritative, great listeners, receptive, kind of in between. That makes sense. You kind of see the reactive feel of this group and how they respond to it. One of my main 6s I know in my life is Jonathan's wife, Allison. And Jonathan is so funny because as a 5, they're already emotionally disconnected. And she's all about this emotional stuff. And it's just like, it could be anything. And she would just call and tell him a story of something sad, happy, anything. And Jonathan is on that, cool story, bro. And he's just not, and she's like, well, I just shouldn't even have called you. And he's kind of thinking, and it's just, because she's hoping to call and you just be excited with me, or you be sad with me, or can you believe she did this? She wants, and Jonathan just, the emotions over there, I don't feel it. So you can see how that could be an issue. And we'll talk about that some next week. But
And so each of the harmonic groups, they have kind of equilateral. We don't have the triangle up here, but there's an equilateral triangle that goes between the 9, the 6, and the 3. And they're all the fulcrum. They're kind of that in between each one of them, to where they kind of have a foot in both worlds. And so you can see that in each of the groups, whether it be positive outlook, or whether it be competency, or whether it be reactive. There's the 3, 6, and 9 is the one that kind of straddles that and says, I'm kind of in both ends. Quite often doesn't do either one. But, all right, you've had your hand up for a while. Questions? Let's certainly take that.
When you're in stress, do you take on the harmonic qualities of your stress number?
You can. It's not always the normalest of things to do, but yeah, this is one of them that you can. You still tend to always be your number, but stress mode, you just go over and take anything negative from that. If you're thrown into stress. One of the ladies that we've watched some stuff on and stuff, she says you could choose to go to your stress number and it'd be a good thing, which I agree with. But your best results over there, you're not going to jump over there, and if it's a scale 1 to 10, 10 being your healthiest, you can't jump over there and be a 10 in a number you're not familiar with. Your best hope is, she said, you're going to jump over there and maybe be a 7, best hope, 7 out of 10. So that answers your question, son. But you'll take on some of those qualities, especially the negative ones, thrown into stress.
And so all of these, all 3 of these groups are how we react when our basic need has not been met. When we have this basic need, we used our Hornevian kind of skill grouping to try and get that need met, and then it's not met, and this is kind of a reaction to that. Comments? Do you see this playing out in your life? For those of you who are pretty familiar with where you land in your numbers, is this ringing true? Looking for some
positive outlook. People, raise your hands. Do you feel like? I mean, this is our 9s, our 7s, and 2s. Do you feel like our glass is half full? You feel that way? I mean, that's kind of the generic thing to say or whatever.
Yeah,
so
you made a well-made remark. How you said the 9 kind of hits them all.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
All right, so I'll just tell you how it's set up. The 9 hits them all or whatever. So the things that we've been through, the 9 hits them all because the 9 wings 8 and 1. The 9 right here is 7 and 2. The triadic is 9, 3, and 6, and then the withdrawal is the 5 and 4. So that's how it hits it all. So it's just connected to a group. In a lot of our books, the recommended career path is counselor for 9 because they're connected to the numbers. That's just kind of how that's laid out. There's a couple of other numbers that actually might connect more when we get into some really deeper stuff, but these are our big basic ones. And the 9 only connect is the only one connected to the basic ones like that. All right, any other comments? Positive outlook, y'all all feel it? You feel kind of the response, the reframing, let me do
positive
good.
spin on it.
Make others happy to be happy. All right. Competency. You feel it?
Who's our competency?
Competency. All right.
I think
2
what you
hands
said
up.
a while ago really is important. As Christians, we may need to touch all of these things at some time for the benefit of somebody else.
Yes.
We become unselfish so that we can meet that need.
Yeah.
You don't want to listen to a sad person.
Yeah.
But you need to.
Yes. Absolutely.
And somebody needs to listen to you about how excited you are about the meeting.
Yep.
No. I mean, yeah.
No, that's true. That's what when we talked about our churches, when we built our churches, that's what it was like when we talked about this is how you're going to grow. I'm going to grow through those sitting through sad moments with kids who are dealing with something that I just wish that they weren't dealing with and they didn't have to tell me, but they got to tell somebody, and I'm going to be that guy for them. But yes, a lot of growth comes through that.
I mean, and that's kind of really the goal of this class is to see how other people tick and, oh, okay, I'm not just going to keep judging you the way I maybe have in the past because you're not like me, but it's like, oh, now I kind of have a better understanding of, why you approach things that way, or why you see things that way, or why you enter the world, why you enter a room the way you enter the room, kind of thing. So.
There's definitely certain things that numbers do that trigger us as a number. as my number, I am triggered by X. I mean, me and Jay, we talk about that, and he's like the way 9s are kind of slow to make a decision. My man's just like, as a 5, he's like, we're trying to be efficient here, and he's like, make the call and let's move on. And he's like, the wavering of that. He says I could be impatient with that. You know, that's something we talked about. And so I think, and I will talk about that even again some next week. But I think we got some cool things planned. But you can see how this is all connected. That's the whole point of the class. It's about learning others, but learning about yourself too, because we could be a better version of us, better connected to Christ. And we'll spend a whole class on spiritual disciplines and stuff that you can do for your number, and you'll see growth.
And so the competency group, it's didn't get what I needed, I'm going to make sure that I look confident. How about the
our last
the
reactive
group? Who are our 684s? Ring true?
Yep.
Did you feel it?
Definitely feeling that. Anything particular that jumps out at you?
I think something that's not necessarily been pointed out, at least for me, is that I do what I think I'm expected to do. Mm-hmm. What's expected of me.
Right. And you would.
I second that too.
Right. And we oftentimes we think, well, I think this way. How could you not? I'm definitely going to ring our assertive triad. Definitely holds that real true. 8, 7, and 3s. We definitely hold that real true. Oftentimes 8s do, and 7s are thinking, and we definitely feel the think. How do you not think the way I think? And you, how are you not doing what you're supposed to do? In the sense of, if you just see someone they don't have a job, well, why are you not getting a job? You know, it's not hard. Go out and do that. You know, that mindset. We feel that, and and that this is what we're talking about it because we learn not everybody thinks that.
Yeah, we're a pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of a thing, because probably a lot of us have done that.
Yeah.
We think if we can do it, anybody else could do it.
Yep.
But isn't there like different levels? Because I'm an 8, Mom's an 8, but I'm on the healthy spectrum. And that book, it talks about like the healthy.
Yep. Now, that's normal. There's different levels. That book and the spectrum of those things. I mean, you rise and fall daily through that stuff. So at best, we can always expect to be average in there, and so that's our goal, is to find kind of our average outlook. But yeah,
and that's a whole other layer to this onion that even in a 13-week series we looked at and went, we probably can't even get to that. Just where we are within healthy to unhealthy layers within our own number.
Yeah, because I was confused because I was like, I don't know if I'm an 8 if she's an 8 because we're not. But
yeah. The last couple of weeks we'll talk about variations in numbers a little bit, and that may help you too. But again, we're trying to hopefully establish our number before we got there. So I think that'll help.
Yeah, just trying to lay some groundwork here for just how we're all connected.
You want to run through our questions, Joe? What about
yeah, we're running about there. So
Joe's just going to go through something that the book said we thought was kind of cool about each number, and just a question they have and a sum up of how they feel in this moment.
Okay, so our positive outlook group. This is, once again, they just deny they have any problems. They're not like delusional or anything. They have a positive outlook. They put a positive spin on it. And so for 2s, their focus is primarily on the needs of others. And so they would say, you have a problem? I'm here to help. That would be like a statement from a 2, kind of a summing up this positive outlook. 2, you have a problem? Well, I'm here to help. 7s, they're in our positive outlook, and their focus is primarily on their own needs, and there may be a problem, but I'm fine. Okay? Jeff, I very intentionally posted that Jesse was going to cry on Facebook today. Because it was just like, he's not going to cry in front of everybody. He's going to be happy. There may be a problem, but I'm fine. And of course, with 9s, the focus is on both. There's that fulcrum in between. But they don't adequately fulfill either one. But the deal is kind of like, what problem? I don't think there's a problem. And so when you're looking at the 9s, they're just like, I don't think there's a problem. And so they're kind of in between there. So that kind of sums up our positive outlook, like a quotation from each one of them. So our competency group are 1, 3, and 5. So they cut off feelings and try and solve things logically. Let's take feelings out of the equation, and we're going to do things logically. 1s, they operate inside the rules, and no one will be able to question their integrity. They're going to follow those rules, and this is, don't question because I'm doing it right. That seeking perfection. So a quote from them: "I'm sure we can solve this like sensible, mature adults." We can get down to this, and we can solve this like mature adults. Whereas 5s, they operate outside the rules. So the 1s, give me the rules, we're going to follow them. 5, outside the rules. There are a number of hidden issues here. Let me give a quote for the 5s. There's a number of hidden issues here. Let me think about this. So they're going to step back and think about which rules really they're going to apply there. 3s, play it both ways. Once again, they're our fulcrum. Play it both ways. They're having beliefs of the rules and structures, but not really any restrictions. So like a quote for them: "There's an efficient solution to this. We just need to get to work." And so they're all about making sure that achievement and looking like that, but they are going to try and look confident. Let's just get to work. That in between there. And then finally, our reactive group. They react strongly, and they need a response from others. Remember Jesse's animated example of the store clerk. I want you to feel what I'm feeling. Are you not feeling it? Well, anyway, they need a response. 4s, they subconsciously want to be parented. Right? I feel really hurt. I need to express myself. Be a quote there for this reactive group. Whereas 8s, they want to play the role of parent and provider. I'm angry about this, and you're going to hear about it. And we can kind of see this coming out in an 8. Whereas 6, they want to play it both ways, parent and be parented. I feel really pressured, and I've got to let off some steam. So just kind of a little quote there for each number as we finish up our harmonic groups. Okay. Anything else we can close out with?
No, any comments? Next week, I'll give you a troll's guide to bother every number. I will give you the guide to upset every number. All right? As in, I'm hoping to give you a guide to not do those things to show them love. So we'll talk about some things that trigger numbers. We'll talk about another little triad, but we just don't have a ton of information on it. It's kind of small. We'll talk about that too. But yeah, we'll have several things to go over next week. Some fun. Lots of info.
All right, I'll close out with prayer, and then we can do what we need to. Father, thank you again for your love for us. We have made ourselves so unlovable so many times in so many different ways, with the way that we treat people or the things that we say, or sometimes even in our hearts. But thank you for plowing through all of that and loving us just the same. So much so that you sent your son. We want to be more like him in all that we do, and so that's why we're here tonight. We want to be like Jesus, and there's some things that sometimes get in the way, and so help us to examine ourselves and just put some work into this. Thank you for the church and for what it means to us as Christians. It's through Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.